Okay. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started with the prayer and a pledge of allegiance. If you'll stand with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and a chance to gather together and take care of business, important health insurance considerations for this county and our employees and their dependents. Help us to make wise decisions here and help us to be knowledgeable of the facts so that we can do what is absolutely in the best interest of everyone, considering whatever situation they are in, as well as taxpayer implications and just all the way down the line. Thank you for the assistance of Steve and his crew from Higginbotham, and we just ask your blessings on this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for the record, it is just after 9 o'clock today, and this is the, what day is today? I'm getting mixed up here. It's just the 7th, not the 8th. I was getting ready to say the 8th. And this is a special meeting today here on a Thursday, and we're here to get an update on the performance of our county self-funded insurance plan, and also to receive some information that will help us to consider and possibly make a decision on whether or not the county would want to switch to a fully insured plan. Specifically, we've got some quotes from Texas Association of Counties. This would be a major consideration, a major change for the county after many, many years of being on a self-funded plan to switch to a fully insured plan. There's a lot of moving parts in that decision, and we want to be sure that we are very careful as we consider that possibility, while at the same time costs in our self-funded plan continue to escalate, and we've got to make some decisions here on how we're going to contain these costs. So we're pleased to have our consultants from Higginbotham Insurance here with us today. And at this time, I will turn it over to Steve or Tony or whoever would like to begin.
Well, first of all, thank you for letting us come and visit. And I think this is a very healthy exercise that we need to do every couple of years to really give you a good understanding of what it means to be self-funded, the pros and the cons of being self-funded, and the pros and the cons of being fully insured. And so this is a great exercise. And so do any of you ever wake up in the middle of the night thinking about the things of the day to come? Finally, last night I guess I woke up about 3 o'clock. And I'm thinking, how, because I think part of this discussion is, you know, the pros and the cons. All right, pros and cons of either way. And so anyway, something maybe this might seem a little unorthodox this morning. It's a good thing you guys are sitting up there, because one of the things that I think will illustrate the difference between being fully insured and self-funded. All right, so we're going to call this stack self-funded, okay? Dana's. Jessica, lay those 10 out in there. And we're going to call that stack fully insured. Okay? Now, what you need to know is our role in either one of these situations, okay, is pretty much the same. Okay, it's very similar. All right? We provide you consulting services, which from our perspective is placement, negotiation with the carriers, making sure you're getting the right deal, okay, making sure you're right, you know, self-funded, buying the right kind of contracts, and negotiating those terms. It works the same way on the fully insured side, is, you know, making sure you're getting the best deal on a fully insured basis, arguing over, you know, large claims or how they've handled claims or those kind of things. What, you know, when they come out with their increase, well, why coming out with that increase, all right? So those, as far as the consulting goes, there probably is truthfully maybe a little less work on the fully insured side for us as a consulting on a consulting basis than there is on a self-funded, okay? But the other piece of what we do for you is what we would call agent services, which is handling employee calls and when they stop by the office and they've had claims issues or whatever it is. We're probably averaging 12 to 15 of those touches a month, okay, for county employees. And they're anywhere from, a claim didn't get paid right, or they don't understand their benefits. We're talking to them about what their benefits are, those kind of things. Jessica, you got what's some other examples?
Coming in with claims, billing issues, if the claim was processed right, or why the physician's office is billing them this much, asking us if they've met their wellness requirements for the year. And
If something's going to be paid correctly, like the sheriff called me last month to see whether or not his child's wisdom teeth should be filed under dental or medical. And I'm going to hard line. I don't know, I have to check on it. Anyway, but yeah, they do, which is fine. I mean, we try to, Amy at the sheriff's office basically just emails me or calls me if she's got any. She kind of collects everything at the sheriff's office, kind of in one fell swoop. So whatever they need.
Yeah, and they have the lady's cell phone numbers. Gail, they have Gail's number too. Gail, when they call, she says, take a picture of your EOB and text it. And then she emails it to herself, and then she works whatever the deal is. So, I mean, these ladies are on call almost 24/7. So, from an agent services standpoint, it's not going to matter whether you're fully insured or you're self-funded. We're still doing all those same things for you, okay? Then, just briefly, especially for the new guys that may not have heard this conversation before, I wanted to try to get as much insurance terms out of it as I could. And I think the visual, I don't know about y'all, but I work pretty good visually, so that's why these $100 bills all laid out here, okay? They're not for you to take home. Okay? That was a good thing, you're up there, okay? So, but how I'm gonna explain this, it pretty well works the same way whether you're fully insured or whether you're partially self-funded from a carrier standpoint or a TPA standpoint. And so under a partially self-funded program, you have the opportunity to, when you have a good, well, let me back up. So how to break this out, okay? So you pay for administration, okay? You're paying UMR right now, a set fee for paying your claims, processing that, for your PPO, for all of those kind of things, okay? So let's say that's 10%, and it's probably less than that, percentage-wise, but you've got some of that that's going towards just administration, right? Okay. Then you buy two types of stop-loss insurance. One is the specific stop-loss coverage, which protects you from any one big hit, okay? Now, right now, we're 50 specific, and you have 60 aggregate specific. We'll talk about that.
50,000, break. I'm gonna try. I may slow you down when you get something that I think that may want some clarification.
Okay.
On. But explain that stop loss and what partially self-funded means, because we're not completely at the mercy of somebody's $1 million claim should something like that happen. We have this stop loss insurance that we place a side bet essentially with an insurance company, and they say, okay, if you have a huge claim, we'll come in so that you don't devastate your self-funded plan or your savings account. Yeah,
we have a tendency to say we're self-funded, but we're not really self-funded. We're partially self-funded. All right. So, as far as the specific stop-loss insurance goes, all right, you have coverage for any one claim that goes over $50,000. All right. Actually, you have two pieces to that specific stop-loss. Okay, and this is where it gets a little confusing. All right. So you have a $50,000 specific, and then you have a bucket over here that I like to just call it a bucket. It's called an aggregating specific. All right. And it's got $60,000 worth of deductible in it. Okay? And before any claim is going to be reimbursed, you gotta go through this 50 on any one individual and this 60 on either one or multiple individuals. All right? So let's say that you have a claim that's, one claim that's $70,000. So you've met the specific deductible, okay? But before anything's gonna get reimbursed, remember this bucket has to be empty, all right? So the carrier's gonna reach in here and they're gonna take $20,000 out of that bucket, okay, and apply it to that claim. Okay, you with me? Then you have another claim, let's say it's $80,000. All right, so it missed the 50 specific, and then they're gonna reach over here and they're gonna grab $30,000 out of this bucket and apply it to that claim. All right, so you're still not getting any reimbursement on that until the specific deductible's been met and that bucket is empty.
And now his other bucket is at 50. right?
Yeah, so I mean, gradually as you go along this bucket, and that could happen in one claim. You have one claim that, I mean, like we have a $200,000 loss this year. So obviously it's met the specific, it emptied the bucket, and for any other big claim that comes along, all you've got to meet is the first 50. Okay?
But up to that first 50, we could have 24 people that had really bad illnesses, and we'd pay that $50,000 on each one of them. And
That's right. Okay, so you had, so anyway, so that's the specific coverage. All right, now, what happens is this bucket that sits over here, this aggregating specific, you wonder sometimes, you know, when I first started seeing these come out, I'm thinking like, why would we do that, you know? But what the trade-off is, your stop-loss premium is a dollar for dollar credit ordinarily for that bucket, okay? So when you go to an aggregating specific, it reduces the premium that you're paying to the stop-loss carrier dollar for dollar. All right, so you're saving 60 grand instead of paying it to the insurance carrier. Okay, you're saying we'll just put it over here in a bucket and we'll draw from that if we need it. If we don't need it, then we get to keep it. Okay. All right, you with me, Al? You with me?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
So
50,000, huh?
let's say that your stop loss premium is without the aggregating specific, and then these are just round numbers, okay? This is not what you're actually paying. Let's say it's $200,000, okay? With the aggregating specific deductible, instead of your premium being $200,000, it's $140,000. Okay?
Say that again?
Okay, all right. So the premium for just a flat $50,000 specific, okay, with no aggregating deductible, say it's $200,000. But we say, okay, no, we want the aggregating specific deductible. We want that extra bucket of deductible over here of $60,000. The insurance carrier reduces their premium by $60,000. All right. So instead of paying $200,000, you pay $140,000.
But we also agree to understand that we've got to pull from our $60,000 that's, where is that $60,000? It's not really anywhere, it's just additional risk we're willing to take.
That's correct, okay? And see, on a fully insured basis, all right, and everything we're talking about still kind of works over there on the fully insured side, okay? The difference is you're paying that $60,000 to the fully insured carrier, okay, and they're banking it.
Wait,
All right.
if you have a $50,000 claim, and then you have another $50,000 claim,
Okay,
so then you have a claim for $70,000. We pay $50,000 deductible on each one of them. We have to pay that.
That's
Then
correct.
they pay the rest of the $20,000, whatever, on
Yeah.
the $70,000 claim.
yeah, so let's say that in your instance, you got two 50s and 170.
Yeah.
All right, with no aggregating specific, you're going to be reimbursed 20 grand because you're paying the first 50 on all three of them,
Right.
and then the balance over the 50 would be 20,000.
Right.
Okay, so the carrier would pay 20,000. All right, but with the aggregating specific, with this extra bucket over here.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm sure you're losing me.
Okay.
Where you get the bucket?
Okay. All right, so forget the bucket. We give you you get 20,000 reimbursed.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
With the bucket, it's got $60,000 sitting over, $60,000 of deductible that has to be met before you get any reimbursement. Okay?
Right.
But your premium was offset dollar for dollar for that bucket. Okay, basically if you're accounting properly for it, okay, you save that premium and you just set it aside because you know that there's a possibility that you might use it, okay? But if you don't, you get to keep it. Whereas if you paid it to the insurance carrier, they're going to keep it, whether they use it or not. Okay? That's a difficult concept, I understand that.
Wait a minute, in other words, a claim that doesn't go to 50 is not included in this
That's
conversation.
correct. I mean,
If it's a 49,000.
you're on the less than 50 claim at 100% after the benefits, you run it through the benefits, okay, until you get to your aggregate, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? Because there's a limit on those too. Now, you're limited both on the one individual big hit, and you're limited on having just a really bad year of a bunch of little stuff. Now, you've got coverage for both of those. Okay, but we'll get to the aggregate in just a second. So, are you with me? You're on the first 50.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Sorry.
The only purpose for the aggregating specific is to help you with your stop loss premium.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, you're saving dollar for dollar. It
And
makes,
in some cases, depending on how your claims fall, that might have been a wise decision. In other cases, it might not matter a hill of beans. You could have,
That's right.
you should have just paid the whole 60,000 premium,
Right.
paid the 200 instead of the 140.
yeah. But see, a 611 does another. Even a bad year, you're no worse off with the aggregating specific
Yeah.
than had you paid it to the insurance carrier.
Because you're
Okay.
getting full benefit
That's right.
of it. So you're either going to pay it as a premium or you're going to pay it.
But
Now,
there's some
deductible.
years that, like you said, might have been a really wise decision to go ahead and not have that. But probably, 2 out of 4, you're not
No,
going to
it's-
even touch it.
Yeah, I would say, when you're partially self-funded, you're going to lose 2 out of 10. You're going to win 8 out of 10. Usually, it's kind of how it works. Okay?
So that's why you've always recommended and we've always bought aggregating specific.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, program against program, self-funded, you're probably going to win 7 to 8 times out of 10. Whereas fully insured, you're sending all your money off. Okay, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so are we clear on the aggregating specific? I mean, you don't really have to fully grasp that. Just know that there's a reason that we do that, and the reason that we recommend that is because you're lowering your premium, and there's no risk there. All right, there's no downside to the aggregating specific.
Does it have to be a $50,000 claim or above 50,000 to go into that aggregated
Yes,
specific?
yeah, because you have your individual specific is 50, and then you
Right.
got this bucket of 60 sitting over here. Okay. All right. So those are to protect you. The specific stop loss is to protect you from any one big hit or multiple big hits. Okay. For any one claim, you're on the first 50, and then you got that next 60 that you got. So one individual claim before you get any reimbursement, you're going to be out 110 grand. Okay.
Compare $1 million claim with 20 $50,000 claims to help them understand the difference.
Okay. All right. So if you have $1 million claim, you're out 110.
You're at 50 plus
Plus the 60, you're at 110. Now then, on how many $50,000
You've
claims?
got 20 $50,000 claims.
Yeah, okay, so what happens there, that's a good lead into the next discussion, okay? So you have specific stop loss insurance for the one big hit or multiple big hits, all right? Then you have what we call aggregate stop loss insurance, all right? And the aggregate stop loss insurance covers you for the total of all the claims that fall underneath the specific deductible. Okay, so all the drugs, all the office copays, any claim that falls, that winds up less than 50 grand per individual. Okay? plus any claims that they take the deductible out of the 60 grand over here, okay? Applies to what they call the aggregate, all right? And there is what they do, how they calculate that is they come up with what your expected claims are, and they add about 25% to it. And that's a negotiable number too, all right? And then that's your aggregate. And let's say, in your case, it's probably it's about $1.9 million, somewhere along in there. For worst case, that's not actually the aggregate. I have to look at my numbers. But anyway, they cap how much you can be out on all those little claims. Of course, $40,000 claim is not a little claim, but that would go towards what we would call the aggregate attachment point. All right? Which I think is, it's about 70 grand a month or something like that. I have to look at that and see. But in speaking in general terms, you're protected two ways: from the big hit and from just a horrible year of small claims. Okay? I have, in my entire career, I may have had one group, one time, get to that aggregate or that attachment point, aggregate attachment point. And usually this doesn't happen because, and here's the deal, these insurance carriers are really good at figuring out what your losses are going to be. Right? And they're going to win 8 out of 10 times. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? They're really good. They're actuarial stuff. They know about what a heart case is going to be. They know about what a cancer case is going to be, and they calculate that all into their numbers, all right? And then they put a little fudge factor in there, all right? So if you're fully insured, they're going to lose probably 2 times out of 10. And they're going to win probably 8 times out of 10. All right? So here's what happens is, you got your administration. Everybody with me here? Okay? You got your administration. Then you're paying for your stop loss insurance. All right? So let's call the stop loss insurance a couple of those. All right?
For a specific area?
Yeah, the aggregate's cheap. And your aggregate premium is $7,500 a year. Okay? And what that tells me is the chances of you getting to hitting your attachment point is slim. If there was any kind of good chance that you were going to get there, they'd charge you a lot more premium than that. All right? So the rest of this is what we would call fixed costs, okay? You're going to pay the administration and your stop loss insurance before you pay $1 in claims, okay? And what the rest of this is what we would call your variable cost, okay? That's your claims, all right? And the insurance carrier, your stop loss carrier over here, one that's providing the specific coverage and the aggregate coverage, is going to calculate. They're going to look at your claims experience, your demographics of the group, where you're located, et cetera, large claims, medical trend, all that good stuff. And they come up with what they think is going to be your expected claims, all right? Which is the number that your fully insured folks are going to be shooting at too. I mean, they're going through the same calculations. Everything that's going on over there, you just don't see it, okay? So what happens is, in a good year, let's say in a good year, you're paying out this and you're keeping this, okay? Then you have another good year, maybe it's not quite as good, and you're putting this over here in your reserve fund. Now, I know that in your case, you're not really doing that. I mean, you do have a benefit account, though, Chris? You got a benefit account? Is it a separate account, or you're accounting for it differently, okay? All right? But you're not putting enough away in transferring over into that account, all right? So what you're doing is you're keeping in the good years, you're keeping money in your general fund that, if you really want a really good accounting of it, okay, you would fund to the expected cost, all right? And you would move that money over here to this benefit fund, all right? So what's happening is right now, what's in your benefit fund, is it getting low, or is it,
We got that 400,000.
So that's not what I would call low, okay? You're still pretty good shape there. But the deal is you've banked a lot of the benefit of being self-funded into your general fund. Okay, you hadn't been moving it over to that account. So you've got a bunch of money. If you went back and you really did the accounting, which would be hard to do, you'd have to compare it to what your fully insured premiums would have been during all that period too. But you've been banking money in your general fund that's not showing up in your benefit fund. Are you with me? Okay, because you haven't been taking all that
In previous
money.
years, not recently.
Not recently, that's
not
right. I mean, your last couple of
year.
years, you've had a bad year, okay? All right, so what happens is, in those good years, okay, you're banking this, all right? Then you have a bad year come along. And what happens is, you have to reach over here, and you have to go like this, okay? And what you've been doing in the past, I don't know, maybe taking money out of the general fund or whatever, but you're taking out of this reserve because you know that at least 2, maybe 3 times out of a year, you're gonna have a bad year. Okay, that's just the nature of the beast. That's gonna happen, okay? So you're pulling out of that reserve, you know, you had a bad year, all right? So you just put that money right back over your benefit fund, you pay your claims, all right? On the fully insured side, you get absolutely no, they're not gonna reach back, okay? When, in the good years that you had, that fully insured carrier is not gonna reach back and say, well, they had a good year 3 years ago. All right, we're gonna, you know, give them credit for that. And they don't do that. Okay, they're gonna look at your current claims, they're gonna see figure out what your expected is gonna be, and they're gonna charge you whatever they think it takes to fund those claims and make, you know, I mean, they're in the business to make a profit. I don't have any issue with that at all, okay? So are your stop loss carriers here, okay? But, so what happens in a bad year, you have to reach in your pocket and you have to put it back in that fund. That's just the way, and you've done that for the last 20 years, okay? And sometimes you've had to reach in your general fund to get money because that's where you've been banking your good years. Now, you haven't been moving all your money over to your benefit fund, which is fine as long as you know you're doing it. Okay, because what you've been doing, you've been underfunding your benefits. Okay, actually you haven't been underfunding it. You really haven't been underfunding it. You just hadn't been moving money into, you know, accounting for it properly. Okay, because you've been funded, but sometimes you have to reach in that general fund to make things balance. Okay.
Let's stop for a minute and
Okay.
make sure everybody understands this. Sometimes we use the word insurance premiums, that we're paying insurance premiums to the tune of, what are we currently doing? $900, $950 per person, $950, $850. So when you look on your budget, or I look on my budget, I see Carolyn's and my $850 coming out of my budget. Well, we're not paying that money to Blue Cross Blue Shield. All we're doing is we're putting that money into the county's health fund. And like Steve was saying, we hope that after everybody puts in their $850 a month per employee, that we don't spend any more than that on claims. But we've been spending more than that. So that at the end of the year, Carl and Christy have to go, oops, we got to add some more money than just the $850 a month we've been putting in. So we take some out of general fund and put it in there to keep it afloat. In the good years that we had in the past, you know, we were building up money in there, and we used to charge what did we do 6 years ago? 600? 700? So we slowly crept up here, and now we're to the point we probably need $950 to $1,000 a month per person at the rate we're running to keep our pot of health expenses
To have your
money.
reserves adequate.
To have our reserves adequate.
Yeah, and the other side of that is you've been subsidizing your dependent costs too. Okay, I mean, you haven't really been charging your dependents what the market.
This is an important point because it's going to play
Okay.
into this discussion
Absolutely.
here, that everybody
Absolutely.
understands this.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's a benefit to your employees, okay? And you've always been reluctant to really make a significant change, although we made a fairly significant change last year. Depends on who you talk to. You know, $20 is a significant change to some people, okay? But you've always been reluctant to increase the amount that your dependents have to pay for their coverage, all right?
Because our family coverage right now for a wife is how much, Christy? About $300 a month, give or take.
No, they're
That's more than that.
charging, for a spouse, it's $175 per paycheck.
So $350 a month. And with kids and a spouse, we might be charging $500 a month to that
That's
employee.
where everybody is, correct, on the baseline. If they've got dependents.
Some, we have a couple that took it even with the dependent, without a dependent.
But just because we're charging that employee for that much dependent coverage doesn't mean that's the real cost to the county. The real cost to the county might be $600. So we've been supplementing that because we've been unwilling to charge that employee the true dependent cost. And as more and more kids and spouses have medical issues, that becomes even more prevalent, and that's what we've been dealing with here lately. So this is going to come into play when we look at these TAC premiums that they are quoting for spouse, children, and family coverage, which are going to be considerably higher than what we are currently charging them. And so we're going to be faced with a brutal increase to our employees, or we're going to be faced with establishing a dollar amount or a percentage that the county is going to pay for dependent coverage to match with what the employee is paying. So right now we're paying 100% of employee coverage, and now we talk about, oh no, we don't pay for dependent coverage. The employee pays that. Well, that's not really true. They pay part of it. The county bears that unspoken burden that we haven't really ever quantified.
Yeah, so, see, that's a,
Just when things hit you, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that is, while we're on that point, that's an advantage of being self-funded, because you can charge your dependents whatever you want to. Of course, I guess technically under fully insured, you get two. Even though the premium they're saying for family coverage might be $800, you don't have to charge $800. But it's going to be evident
But it
that
will
you're
bring into
subsidized.
focus what the true cost of
That's
that
correct. That's why
dependent
I believe this is a great exercise, okay? Because here's the deal. If you had been funding like a fully insured plan all these years, you'd have a big old bucket of money, okay? But you've been underfunding your plan, and as a result, it's kind of, in a bad year especially, it eats away at your reserve, because in the good years, you weren't putting enough money in, all right, to build that reserve up. So when that bad year comes along, you can reach in here and pull it out. Although you're still pretty good. I mean, 400,000, not bad, not bad. Okay, fully insured, you wouldn't have that 400,000. The fully insured carriers would have it. Okay, so anyway. So the difference between well, let me back up before we get there. Okay, on occasion, okay, again, you might be pulling out of your reserves to pick up, some claims in a bad year, right? You may have to do that year. I don't know. It's 6 months into it. But from the numbers that we're looking at, we'll get there in a minute, it doesn't look like there's been much difference between, if you would have been running fully insured with Blue Cross and what you are at self-funded. Okay? You've just been sending a whole lot more money on down the line fully insured than you are currently under self-funded. Okay? Yeah.
Commissioner was here in March, she was talking about that, because it's a pool, and if when there's a surplus, they do.
Yeah, now they will give a portion of, if the pool does well, okay, they will give a portion of of that revenue back, okay? So that is, we hadn't gotten to that point, but that's true. That's as far as TAC is concerned, that's available through their pool arrangement.
But I know that like on much larger county than you got back like 40,000.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to be a big, huge amount.
She had that a couple counties, did get 100,000, but I don't know.
Yeah,
They probably big counties.
yeah. So I mean, that is that's an advantage of the pool. So yeah. Well, no, I don't think they ever assess. I don't know. I don't believe they have they assessed before. Okay. No. Anyway, so
Before you get
Yeah,
too much further,
yeah.
let me just kind of talk about your year this year with the claims that put you kind of in this position. There's one thing, when he's talking about things that in the bathtub, something just hit me, okay? You've got 3 large claimants that have gone over the 50,000 specific deductibles. One of those is an employee that's had claims of 101,000. The other one is a dependent that has claims of 75,000. Okay, I think both of those claims are kind of settled down,
You're popular.
kind of resolved. The third
That may
claimant
come
is
back.
someone who has retired. And if I understand correctly, when your retirees hit 65, they go off the plan. That particular claimant has had claims of $204,000. But that claimant turned 65 on December the 28th. And she will go on. That
And it was a big number for her last year too, so,
correct.
anyway.
But that's the thing, I guess, that it's just kind of, as he was talking, I was sitting there thinking, let's just think about the prognosis, basically, of this. So that, even though you do have some underlying claims that are less, none of them are, you only have one that was like in the 40,000, everything else was less than 15,000 on these smaller claims.
Okay.
And that should make you feel a little bit better.
Well, not only that, see, what happens is we'll be able to go back to our stop-loss carrier and say, look, here's the deal. She rolls off. That person rolls off in December. You're not going to be covering her for the new plan year. Okay, so right now, if that person was going to stay on, they'd be underwriting for that person. Okay, they'd be going, okay, we know we got another big number coming. All right, and they'd be underwriting department. Now with that information, since we know that, then we can go back to the stop-loss carrier and look, hey, you're done with this individual. You know, they're no longer be on the group December or whatever, you know, prior to the renewal. So that would be a negotiating tool that we would go back to the stop-loss carrier with. And we would do that even if it was fully insured. Okay, would that be something we'd be arguing with the carrier, whether it's fully insured or partially self-funded. And that would be our job to be able to do that and present that case. Okay, that's part of what you pay us for. Good point. So we're going to lose the largest claimant over the last 2 years in December.
Before the contract ends.
Yeah. Okay. And she's not going to lose coverage. Understand? She's just going to roll right on to Medicare and Medicare
And
supplement.
honestly, where now she's got to pay deductible and the co-insurance and the co-pays. I mean, she can go to whoever she wants to, but we can help her find a Medicare supplement that with Medicare A and B, the supplement will pick up the Medicare A deductible as well as the Medicare B deductible, and all the co-insurance that Medicare charges would be paid under that supplement, so she would have absolutely no out-of-pocket for the medical, as well as finding her a good drug plan that she could purchase. And y'all don't subsidize anything on that Medicare supplement. So just to kind of give you an idea of what she might be looking at, because she's right now, or you're paying for free all of her premium. Okay? A Medicare supplement, for just the supplement part, is going to go anywhere from, depending upon your age and your county, like $150 to $160 a month. And that is paying everything. Of course, you got a separate premium for that drug plan, but she will be very well taken care of when she moves off your plan and goes on to that Medicare supplement. But that should help you a lot.
Okay, so that's a very positive thing. Good job, Tony. Thank you. So, Eric, are you kind of getting the concept here? Okay, over here, there's a lot of transparency. You know exactly what's going on. You know what you're paying for every piece of the pie. Okay, and fully insured, you just send them your premium off, and you know they're doing the same thing. Okay, afraid that's what I'm doing to get away. Anyway.
And we also, although we don't do it as much, we maintain the flexibility of considering special circumstances that came up. Oh, we didn't think about that.
That's
yeah,
correct.
go ahead and pay them. Whereas you're not going to have that kind of flexibility.
over
It's, hey,
the-
here's the plan, here's what it says,
That's
period.
it. That's right. So over the last 20 years, you think about how many exceptions you made to or adjustments that you've made in your partially self-funded plan to benefit mostly to benefit your employees, some to, control costs, like going up on the merger and copay, those kind of things, you were able to customize what you have. And there's some capabilities along those lines on the fully insured, but there's not the say you go to a doctor, the claim doesn't get paid, should have been paid, and the court just says, okay, in this case, we want to pay that. You can do that under self-funded, but they're not going to do it on fully insured. And that's happened several
We
times.
stopped in the middle of the year and changed the way the lab and x-ray was covered, because it wasn't covered the way I wanted it to be, the way we thought it was to be. So we regularly changed that.
There's a lot more flexibility in the part of the self-funded arena. Now, is there risk? Certainly there's risk, okay? But you limit the amount of risk that you have on your self-funded by making sure you're buying the correct stop-loss contracts, okay? And you also can, maybe limit your risk a little bit by putting more money into your, allocating more money to your benefit fund, okay? I mean, it's all the money's there. The only issue is if you run out of money in the general fund. All right. I mean, you're banking that. You're banking in the previous years. You banked a lot of that in your general fund, even though you've got $400,000 in your quote. That particular line item. I guarantee you, there's more money sitting in the benefit or in the general fund that should have been could have been allocated to the benefit fund. Okay? So if you took your fully insured premiums and have been funding those all these years, you'd have a sizable reserve. It'd be more than $400,000 because you've been underfunded for years, and that's okay as long as you know you're doing it. Okay, and as long as you've got the money in the general fund, pick up the slack when those times come along. So, but you're talking about bumping your dependent costs up significantly if you go fully insured. Which we could, before we get there, touch this little sheet right here. What we did was we looked at total cost, self-funded against total cost fully insured, and what we did was we applied the rates that Blue Cross gave TAC. Okay, so for 2016.
And just going in month by month and use your actual enrollment. She took who was actually enrolled to kind of get to this number.
Okay, so these are pretty accurate numbers. Okay, so all in for 2016, you were about $1,673,000. Okay, that's what you paid for all your admin and all your claims, and that's net of reimbursement from your stop loss carriers.
But it does include stop loss premiums.
That's correct.
And
That's
all,
everything.
And all the admin,
That's
et cetera,
correct.
et cetera.
That's
Okay,
everything
No
in there.
missing pieces.
Okay, that matches up well with your fully insured number. You'd have paid $1,750,000. Okay.
Well, they're closer than I thought.
Okay, so year to date, that's just through August. All right, you're going so far, all in, you're $1,142,000. Fully insured, you'd have been $1,135,000. Okay, so really right on top of one another, if you look at it, so far year to date.
And then below that is dental. I thought maybe it would be a good idea to look at a fully insured dental product, but after looking at this, it's really probably not a good idea.
And so here, your dental coverage runs through your self-funded plan. Okay, you're not buying any stop loss insurance on the dental coverage. You're just, I think, UMR charges it with $1 or $2 per head per month for the administration, and then they just pay the claims. All right. So in 2016, your total claims were about $65,000. And if you take the premium for the fully insured premium on the dental and apply it the same way for that same period of time, it would cost you $76,000. Okay.
And these are Ramisha's most
That's correct.
rates.
Yeah, we use her rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use the
And we
official
have it.
rates. The most current ones she gave were 5-tiered, and get a good comparison.
And she revised her quote to do a 5-tier rate plan, but we used the first quote, which had a 4-tier rate structure, so that lined up with what you're doing right now with the 4-tier rate structure.
So when the three of us last sat down, these numbers were a little wider, as I recall.
Because I didn't have the stop loss premium in here, I was just looking at just premium, yeah.
And we discussed pulling in all those additional costs, the admin fees and the stop loss and everything. So that's the true comparison.
Well, so
Yeah,
that's
and here it is. So she took it from this sheet. So from this sheet, you've got all the claims, less the discount, you've got basically the plan cost, which would be your admin. So you've got other fees, RX costs, admin fees, stop loss premium, other optional fees, and ancillary fees. So all of that is added in, and to get to that, well, this includes dental. So it was 1.7, and we had to take out the dental of 64,000. So that's why we separated, because we didn't want the dental in there skewing the medical rates. The medical.
Another thing too that you have to be careful of is you want the enrollment to match up. Okay, in other words, the Blue Cross quote was, on their numbers, they were using a fewer number of employees. There was 2 or 3, 4 folks off on the census. Okay, and if you multiply that over a 12-month period, well, it makes a pretty good sized number. So what we did was we went back and applied the same census to both and we used the fully insured rates and applied it to the census that we had month by month on the self-funded. Okay, it's only an accurate way to get a good comparison.
The TAC quote was using like 134 people, but I think on the average, with your over the year average, like more like 140, something like that.
And there was some variance in the dependent side too. But anyway, so these should be very accurate as far as a comparison. Okay, total cost and total cost. So you're looking at, you'll definitely be paying more money for your dental insurance. Right, you'll be paying, I don't know, anywhere from, well, in 2016, you'd paid another, $12,000 a year for your dental coverage. And with, understand, you're subsidizing that too. You're subsidizing your dental premium significantly. Okay, so your dependents will be paying a lot more for their dental insurance under a fully insured plan too. Okay. So, overall, really, if you look at the deal based on the kind of funding that you've been doing in the past, it's remarkable that you got a $400,000 balance. All right. If you've been funding closer to fully insured premiums, you would have significantly more in that account than what you do now. And you really can't tell what you got in there. Because some of that money's sitting, like I say, in the general fund. So you don't know, you got $400,000, you don't know how much reserves you got sitting in the general fund from prior years being self-funded. So, but all you can kind of do is look at, and we're looking at worst case scenario here. Okay, you've had 2 bad years. All right, and you're sitting right on top basically of what your fully insured premium book is. So
does that make our decision
let's
be
look
easy?
at the tax.
It looked like we should have gone for fully insured.
Well, let's look at the tax proposal, because honestly, I think you need to assess that and you need to evaluate.
There are some differences in coverage, and some things look, I'd say by and large, it's probably a better deal.
But one of the
for the
things that I
employee.
did find out is, y'all have gone back and forth on, do you kick the spouses off if they have other coverage? TAC does.
they require you
And
to do
this is
that.
the form.
Let's clarify this for everybody.
Okay, so when we've had these discussions in the past, y'all have not wanted to make your spouses who have coverage elsewhere go on that other coverage. So somebody's covered with Pilgrims or Preferred, they're employed, I'll use me. I'm employed by Higginbotham, my husband's employed by Warren Timber, okay? Under the tax scenario, my husband has to continue his coverage under Warren Timber. He cannot be covered under my plan at Higginbotham. So the way y'all are, y'all allow, doesn't matter where they work or if they had coverage or whatever, they can come on the county's plan and have the benefit of some wonderful rates that y'all have agreed to charge them and really have a huge benefit. If you move to TAC, there is a spouse eligibility verification form, and everyone has to say, is your spouse employed, or is your spouse self-employed, is your spouse retired?
We do that for
Yeah.
Yeah. In order to enroll an eligible spouse in the Titus County Group Health Plan, this form must be filled out to verify other coverage. So if you say they're employed or whatever you say, then that makes them ineligible to be on this plan.
Even if they have lousy, expensive
Doesn't
insurance.
matter.
They have coverage option to them through their own employer.
Might cost them $500, it might cost them $800 a month. Tax says, sorry, if they have other available coverage, we ain't covering them.
That's right.
The calls was always made, even with those forms, because I brought that to his attention, and he's still gonna say they can put anything on that sheet. Have you how are you gonna verify?
Well, we're a small place. People usually know when somebody's.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you what his argument.
And I can tell you that that's actually happened at our company before. Somebody did do that. And her husband's employer found out and kicked her off mid-year.
You couldn't
So
get
is
covered.
that our responsibility?
No,
to
no.
Be private detective?
No,
We
no.
have retired and went to work somewhere else, and we knew he could have coverage, but now you work.
So here's the deal. If they lie on the form,
Well, it
Okay.
says, okay, let me just read it. It says,
Okay.
I hereby certify, read this document, answers are true and correct. I further understand that a false or fraudulent statement made in order to procure coverage under a health plan, including a public plan such as TAC, for a person who is ineligible for such plan is a violation of the anti-fraud provisions of the HIPAA, in which civil and criminal penalties, including imprisonment, can apply. Sure.
So in other words, if
Anyway,
they
this
lie on
is-
the form, it could negate
this
their
is
coverage. Okay.
And despite how good that TAC insurance might look, and we might all be going, oh, look at these wonderful low deductibles, and look at how cheap this is and how much better this is, it's only going to take one or two employees that are going to sit there and tell you their sob story about why this is going to devastate them, because my wife works for Guarantee Bank or whoever, and it's going to cost us all of a sudden $500 more a month that we don't have.
Well, and then further to that, look on, what page is it? You have something on that? Okay, kind of go to your tax proposal and flip over to section 2, the financial quote. And honestly, when I first got this tax proposal, this is a great proposal. I mean, this is a good proposal. But the dependent premiums, they're going to flip out on these dependent premiums. Are y'all there yet?
You look at
I'm looking at, this is the first quote we had with the 4-tier rate structure. She did go back and give us 2 other alternate plans that are behind this. But looking at the employee-only cost of $855, your employee child rate is $1250, and this was a month. Your employee spouse rate is $1450, and your employee family rate is $1,600. Even when you take out the $850 on that, that's still a lot more than most people are paying now. Now, granted, I think you need to raise your dependent costs, but I'm not sure how this would fly.
Well, let's plug in a comparison number there right now. What is employee? So in their example here, you can see if you wanted to cover your spouse, it's the difference between $855 and $1450. So roughly $600 would be your spouse coverage. Now, y'all aren't going to want to go from $350 to $600. So you would probably say, oh, we've got to supplement this somehow because we can't endure the cries from our employees when you tell them their spousal coverage is going up by $200 or $300 a month. Same with employee and family, and even employee plus children looks pretty good there. It's $400 a month.
So here's the deal. You can charge the dependents whatever you'll charge them. Okay? You can keep the same thing you got now. And be fully insured.
But that difference is just going to add on to the number that's what you're
I mean,
paying.
you're paying it. Anyway you slice it, you're paying it. Whether you go self-funded or fully insured. Okay, the question is whether or not you put all that money that you would be paying fully insured in your self-funded plan and watch your account balance build. Okay? You don't have to charge the dependency premium, but your employee, what you're contributing, what you'd be contributing per employee is going to go up significantly. Because you're going to be subsidizing those dependent premiums.
And as far as the plan goes, they match the plan pretty well. There is a split copay on their office visit where now you just have one copay for a $25 copay regardless of what type of doctor you're seeing. And honestly, I would suggest you probably do this if you stay self-funded because everybody does this because obviously a specialist is going to charge more than a primary care person. But on this tax proposal, it's just a difference of $10, 25 for primary $35 for specialists. They did go down to a $750 deductible on this one. Y'all are at $850 and $1,000. It's an 80/60 co-insurance, which matches what you've got. Emergency room copay is only $150, and y'all did go up to that $200, and it has to be a true emergency. And their drug card is 10, 30, and 50. Y'all's is actually 5, 25, 50, and 150 for specialty. So very few changes here. They matched it pretty well. If you go,
The individual co-insurance and the maximum comes down a pretty good bit, as I recall.
yeah, well, the stop loss is $3,000 on the TAC proposal. It's actually, your out-of-pocket is $4,000 on the buy-up and $6,500 on the base plan.
So for somebody that's looking at large expenses, this is a major benefit of TAC in that your maximum that you're going to be out of pocket is considerably less if you were ever had heavy medical expenses in 1 year.
Does that fire include the deductible here?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, it does. Everything includes. That's deductible, all the co-pays, everything, just like it is right here. This is, that's a good question. This may not be that way. This may be in addition, this may be $37.50. Because generally, Blue Cross is going to split those apart between out-of-pocket maximum and deductible. On the booklet that we give our people, we include all their out-of-pocket, because that truly is all of their out-of-pocket. Can you read that and see what it says on that?
What kind of insurance does TAC have?
Sorry.
It's Blue Cross.
It's Blue Cross. And Justin's looking at the SBC. Okay, deductibles are not applied to stop loss premium, so that I was right. So on this proposal you're seeing, you got $3,000 deductible, so your out of pocket is $3,000 plus your $750 deductible, so it's only $37.50. It's $65.50. Yes. Everything is, in the number you got on this, everything includes on it. Deductible, co-insurance, stop loss, co-pays, everything applies to that $65.50. So, yeah, so on the $3,000, that does include the co-pays you pay, but you would have to add the $750 deductible to that. Okay? And then on the $6,000, it would actually be $7,000 if you go out of network. So it's $6,000 out of pocket and $1,000 actual out of network deductible. So.
Yeah,
Still,
so Mike,
it's still a cheaper out of pocket.
Out of pocket.
total. There's no question.
which you can adjust that on your plan if you want to. No, I mean, if you want to reduce your out of pocket, which I probably recommend, you still can do that. You can do anything you want to in your self-fund plan. But Mike, as far as the carrier goes, I mean, there's not a thing wrong with Blue Cross. I mean, they're probably our lead fully insured carrier, so and we deal with them all the time. So that's not really. We use Blue Cross, we use UMR, we use multiple other fully insured carriers, and we have to do the same thing we have to wrestle with every one of them the same way. You know, so it's not an issue with Blue Cross as far as that goes. Now, that's the only carrier TAC uses, whereas we use multiple whoever's available. But that's really not the issue. The issue is, do I want to say self-funded as opposed to going fully insured, making a big change there? And I just be honest with you, I don't see it. I don't see that that's going to be a great benefit to you, especially when your self-funded is running right on top of what your fully insured premium would have been.
And especially, honestly, looking at these claims, knowing that you're losing your largest person for the last 3 years in December, and your other two high claimants are running pretty well at this point. But anyway, I want to show you what TAC did do, which is basically shift some numbers to come up with the 5-tier rate structure. What they did is they added an employee child rate, which would help if you just got one kid, okay? Then you've got the employee children premium, which is all the children, just you and the spouse is here, and again, the whole family. But basically, that's adding up to about the same. Plus, they bumped up the employee-only rate to $900. So that's helping the dependent costs a little bit because you're just subsidizing some of that dependent costs a little bit. But the plan itself, Ron, I asked her about that specialty copay, and they wouldn't even do it. I don't know why, but she said it's just something that they don't. I disagree with that. I mean, I'm telling all of my groups, you need a specialty copay on drugs. Because I've just seen it hammer groups. That you may not have anybody utilizing a specialty drug now, but it's just a matter of time before you do. And then the third plan that they did provide is kind of a split of the two. She put it at $868.50 and kind of changed it, but this plan also was making it go up to $1,000 deductible, $30 copay on primary, $40 on specialty, everything else pretty much the same. So you can see it did not change the rates too much to increase the deductible to the $1,000.
How long is their price guaranteed for?
12 months.
12 months. In other words, 12 months, they can raise it double if they want to.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, everybody's just a 12-month period.
Yep.
Well, I understand that, but I still think some of them trying to get your business will give you a special rate, and then 12 months from now, you got everybody on it, and then they jack it up.
And you can go back to that's what.
But I will say this about Association of Counties.
Yeah, I mean, we would do our best to keep them honest there. And we, you know, even on the self-funded side, we're going out to market on your stop loss coverage too. I mean, we're always, you know, working that angle too.
We will not have the renewal on this, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask a question. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we won't have your current specific renewal, second ag renewal until mid-September, but I've already asked, we've already gone out to market on everybody, and especially based upon the retiree person. That may make it where you might have to change specific carriers on that specific deductible and the aggregate deductible to
In
find.
order to reap more benefit?
In order to
Keep costs down. Yeah.
Lower
But,
costs.
you know, I mean, that's a really good argument right there.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you're going to basically lose, I mean, because most of your stop loss reimbursement was probably on that one individual, so.
Yeah, it was 204,000.
Yeah. So we had got
167 in
232,000.
medical. This is a great point about the pharmacy. On this one, you had 167 in medical, 36.5 on pharmacy alone.
12 months, yeah. Pharmacy usually is, you know, as we're seeing it runs maybe 30% claims now, the pharmacy side, so, yeah.
Y'all have done this one time. Oh, I'm sorry, Sheriff. Y'all have done this one time before that I remember seeing. It may have been there, I just didn't see it. But you have your total, $1,500,000. And that's the expense you're looking at or your cost or whatever. Now you go back and you go and you get to this person that's going to furnish the medicine, or this doctor that they're in-house. They're on the deal. But I never see that what the final cost was, because we're in this particular system, they give us a discount.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the network discounts,
Does that-
yeah.
One time I saw it where this was our total cost.
Yeah.
Once our discounts that were included, it saved
Right.
a lot.
Oh, yeah,
And I
tons.
just speak to that, your bill charges were $3.3 million.
Okay.
Okay, the discount and everything, it got down to making that total allowable 1.5. Exactly.
Right. That's your
See,
contract.
this
Taking
is,
out not covered, the discount, the allowable, the deductible actually only took out 97,000 of that. So then making the actual amount that UMR reimbursed 100, no, that's co-insurance is 100,000. So, but it's allowed. Allowed was 1.5, billed was 3.3. So a little bit better than the 50%.
And the
Yeah.
UMR discounts and the Blue Cross discounts are
But-
very, very similar.
and I've said this to y'all before, we need to really emphasize to our people, we need to stay in-house unless it's
Yeah,
some
you're,
type of just
Well, maybe
special.
you're
that's part of
doing
that.
pretty good there.
That's the most calls I get, because we had such an issue with getting the two doctors that moved over here from Pittsburgh in the network. And I don't know why, I think that, I'm not sure if that was a hospital deal or a UMR deal, I don't know what it was, but we finally got that resolved, and then come to find out they're not taking new patients.
And then there's one at the north end that I just emailed you about a claim, and you said he's not in there, and we thought everybody up there, so
Yeah.
I still have issues with that.
And we have to go to the hospital for that, because the hospital is the one who actually contracts all those physicians. And
there's sometimes, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, there's sometimes where it can't be helped. Okay, for give you an example, my son-in-law.
But we did implement that, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
That if you come up with something, this is the only person you can see, and this is the only person can do what needs to be
There
done.
again is an argument for self-funding, because in those situations where we are telling them to go, you can pay the claim like they were in network, okay, until we can work out with the contract, because we have nothing to do with the contracts that these providers have. That is between that doctor and the insurance company. You know, we can nag the insurance company and we can nag the hospital to do it, but we can't help. All we can do is just.
I'm seeing more and more people that's on our insurance call and say, are you in network?
We have to call, because our online referral is not current, and has never been current.
Okay.
So you have to call, we tell all the employees to ask, are you in my network, not do you take my insurance?
Yeah,
And I tell you what it does, it makes the doctors get in network.
yeah, once again.
Well, what we generally do, and this is what I do, is I contact you tomorrow and I say, your provider relations person needs to contact this doctor, and you need to contact them directly. Don't go through the hospital, because that will take forever, but go to that person directly. And because if that doctor knows that they may be missing business, then maybe they can pressure, if they are working underneath that hospital umbrella, which the majority of them do in Mount Pleasant.
Well, I just see the in-network, and I know we need to really push it, and we have pushed it, but you still have people out there who will not call.
Right. No,
You're still right. You're
It's
probably
so
right.
aggravated.
We can tell you.
What they're in network?
Yeah,
Call
well,
y'all?
yeah, we can tell you what your in-network participation is. I don't think we have the number, but it's up in the upper 90s. I mean, you're not having much
Well,
go out of
it's
network.
improved a lot in
It
the
has,
last
yeah.
couple of years.
Right.
And
Yeah, we
it
gotta-
used to be horrible.
Yeah.
They just, people went, they didn't ask
Yeah.
questions, they didn't
Yeah,
do
you're right.
anything. And they can get the same doctor, and they'll be in network. I said, you're paying a lot more than you should be paying, because
Yeah.
that person's
It's
in
costing
network.
them more than it's costing the plan more too. So, anyway.
Do we, is there any reason to debate anymore the decision of whether to go TAC versus remain self-funded? I mean, it seems to me to be very clear here, which I was expecting it to be a tougher decision.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from my perspective, no. Okay, I think you need to continue. I mean, it's worked well. I mean, it's like, you know, it's kind of like when the stock market, you know, it has a big downturn, everybody wants to jump out. You know, it's kind of the same deal. You know, you had a bad year, you know, and that bad year kind of, is it, you know, do I need to jump out? And I'm afraid you know, you're going to, next year, lose, especially losing that one really big claimant out there.
What is the pool to TAC? Because we understood in March that there's only 43 counties that don't use tax insurance. So what's the pool, what's pulling the rest of the counties in?
Probably services.
Well, all right, so the other deal is, there's a lot of small counties. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't ever go.
Self-funded. Now, you need to
So are we
be,
on that borderline?
Very much.
well, no, you know, 100 is usually 90 to 100, because here's what the deal is. The smaller the group, the lower deductibles you really need to buy, okay, because it's your fund balances, all right? And the lower deductibles you buy, the higher the premium is. Okay, so it narrows the gap between what you could potentially save by being self-funded. And there's a point that, you
And the
know.
other thing too is, because Blue Cross is the only carrier TAC uses, that eliminates a carrier that those small counties can go to get insurance. So if they want a Blue Cross plan, they have to go through TAC. Okay, like Franklin County is on
That's a good point.
TAC, and Camp County's on TAC. There's only a handful of carriers on a fully insured basis that will ride a municipality. United Healthcare, Blue Cross are it, pretty much.
And you
So,
start talking about in the really rural counties, the only carrier that they have that's got a network out there is Blue Cross.
right.
So it's not always, and it's not, don't misunderstand me now, okay? There's nothing wrong with TAC, okay? But it's not all because TAC has it all figured out. It's because if you're gonna go to Blue Cross, you're gonna go through TAC if you're a county. Okay, they won't sell it. Blue Cross, we can't go directly to Blue Cross to write your account. It has to go through TAC.
And TAC
Okay.
won't take us up insured, we would have to go to full.
Yeah, see, Blue Cross wants to start about 250. You know, might go down to 200 on partially self-funded.
I think she
You know,
said that
so-
they might think about it being self-funded, but based upon these fully insured numbers, I can't imagine what self-funded would be.
Yeah.
Well, what they're trying to do is what we've done. Combine all your resources and you have the money here. We have this money set aside and the whole goal is when you do it in a pool and stuff, those good years, put this money aside.
And just FYI, TAC on the benefit side had a pretty rough year. We sat in on that. Did y'all listen to that TAC meeting thing? That basically, what was it? They wanted to be running around like 70%, and their loss ratio was in like 87%. So what that did, it caused, and I know I talked to 2 other counties that are with TAC, and they all got a rate increase this past year. They still got some of that money back.
Yeah, this is in the past 3 years, they returned 19.9 million.
Right. Well, I'll just say, I'm friends with Becky Wilbank. She's the county judge in Cass County. I think they got, and Cass County has like 250 people. It's a big county. They got 48,000 back.
Well, the ideal pool is around 200 people, was what I was told. The ideal pool is around
Well,
200
it is,
people.
because if one person is running bad, they've got the other 42 counties to bail them out.
That's right.
But, I mean, in this year, I mean, y'all are running hot. There's just no way around it. And it's just one of those years.
Did you-
And-
Okay.
But I do know that the other 2 counties I talked to, their TAC employee-only rate was $200 less than y'all's. So
Yeah,
that just tells you how hot you're running.
Yeah, because they tailored this based upon our experience.
Plain and true, sure.
Sure they did.
And if we continue to run this hot, we'll probably see some further increases.
Well, I mean, I would expect an increase on our stop loss coverage this year too, you know, but with this particular claim going off, I mean, that is a huge thing that we have on our side to argue in order to keep that number down. Might it force us to change carriers? You know, maybe, but that's okay, you know.
And we haven't even transferred any, county over here this year. We haven't. That's strictly on what we've had unknown.
But
Yeah.
now, you did say our big cost will be going off January,
December, whatever.
or December.
Right.
One of them.
It'll be off
One of
before
them,
we're
one of
doing, yeah, one of them. And your other ones don't look like they're, I mean,
And Steve, I asked Steve this, because I personally have never seen any of the self-insured that I've dealt with get the aggregate. But just, I did send this basically to, it's a man named the name of Richard Hoffman. He used to be an underwriter for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And when he retired, he started a company called Analistar. Higginbotham has actually retained services on a full-time basis. And he looked at all this. And I'm not going to read you all of this, but basically he says, in general, groups select self-funding for flexibility, lower admin fees, tax savings, and reduced carrier loads. Depending upon how important flexibility is to Titus County, self-funded might be the advantage here. So that is basically what he said. But his other point was, of your 125% aggregate, you know, the aggregate of all the claims, you're right at 117% now. And I asked Steve, I said, what happens if they get the aggregate? Because, well, at that point, everything's paid for. So you have the possibility, if you continue to run the way you are, what's the probability of
It's slim. Even at 117% is really slim that you're going to hit the attachment point. I mean, because what happens is, I mean, really, the thing that's driving your stuff is these big claims, really. But again, the attachment point is everything that's underneath that, but you still.
We first started this program, we were all a lot younger.
No, absolutely.
That's how you look at it.
Let me tell you,
Average
there
age is probably up a little
was
bit.
lots of money in there. I mean, lots of money.
And there would be a benefit of, because of our age ratio, like the 65, like, to offer them another policy other than staying on our insurance. Even if it means we're paying their supplements, and it helps the county, you know, like.
We're not supposed to pay that premium, are they?
Or just you give it a paycheck.
Yeah, right, yeah,
They cannot pay it directly, but we got a person, I wish you knew this money, please.
I'm watching Joyce down there. I got my eye on her around my right.
Hey.
We do have someone that,
You and Alex
within
cleaned it up
Higginbotham,
after
that specifically deals with Medicare age folks. And I do know that she has been utilized on some groups to come in and actually visit with those big people that are over 65 and tell them the pros and cons, okay, of doing this. Because you don't have the deductible, you don't have the out-of-pocket to meet. And I do know that, you know, there would possibly be a reimbursement to that actual person.
Because there's no incentive for them to get on their insurance.
No.
They're 65 if they're still employed.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would suggest maybe we get Luann to come down and just kind of
Talk about that.
visit with the court about adoption of that, because how many people are there?
And I don't know if we know, I have a account downstairs, I didn't. I'm just talking about the aging, if it gets to the point where we're having several, that's a lot of people, we have 15 people right now.
Okay,
It's like, a lot of make a difference in our
What?
insurance.
I think 15 might actually make it.
Yeah.
It may not be quite that high.
What-
You know,
Christie, we got people that's over 65 and they're still on county and they could be on Social Security, I mean, you know, Medicaid, Medicare.
Medicare.
Okay.
Because we don't mandatory y'all to get to that age.
You know, the other thing is just kind of thinking along those lines, being self-funded, you know, the one negative that could be about going to the Medicare policy and Medicare supplement as opposed to a standalone group is the drug card, okay?
Well, they were going to buy a Part D plan as well as a supplement.
Yeah, you can do that. Okay, so you buy Part D, but the Part D might not, you know, depending on how many drugs they're taking or what they're taking, might not be quite as good, but there could be a possibility that you still self-fund drug plan outside of the Medicare. You can do that too. You're still probably saving money. Can you want to do that? That would be something we could add. So, in other words, they'd have Medicare and a Medicare supplement policy.
Can you look at that or see
Yeah,
what some options are there?
We'll ask about that, if that's available. So I don't know why it wouldn't be. So, you mean, you still have to fund it, of course, but you'd be passing a whole bunch of claims off to Medicare if we can get that done. Well, we'd have to-
In other words, when we get 65, we're just over the hill, throw you out.
You
No,
know.
understatement.
And one thing too, I wanted to talk to you about as well, is I know in the past we've talked about some of the act benefits that we had through Higginbotham. And one of the things that I know that you mentioned is the online program that we can. Not so long.
Keep your
Because I don't think anybody's using it.
We're sitting on the information now.
Right, exactly. No. Higginbotham has, it's called Benefits in Hand. And it's an online enrollment.
So I've never been on the
People would do it, they would do it.
Benefits.
Benefits in Hand.
They were coming in our office, wanting to sit down with us.
Could have.
She chose not to.
Just wanted to mention.
Has Ramisha seen any of this comparison? Does she have a feel of where she stands?
I didn't share any of this with you or
Okay, so I need to talk to Ramisha and say, take a
She's
look
gonna
at
want
it.
to talk to you. Yeah.
I'll call her and just say, we've looked at
They
this.
both wanted to be here.
This was over in March, I mean, tax on one. Yeah, I signed a nice short.
Looks good. 90 days, doesn't it?
Oh, I know Kristen Sheridan
That's
is
all the way to live it.
Mail order, you can't.
okay.
I never have ordered anything through.
Doesn't look like we have any
Always start.
quarterly numbers to go over today, or do we?
No, I mean, honestly, I was out all last week, still recuperating.
We gotta figure
Understand.
But
I was
This would be
gonna
enough
say, do we
for me.
want to target a date to do that?
I think you should maybe do that when you've got your renewal and did which date? Mid-September. So maybe,
Like next week?
That's next week, yeah.
But here's the deal, we're gonna go back to them and say, hey, before you calculate your renewal, you got to know that our big claim is coming off in December. So that'll make it.
and I think we should have the different options from other carriers before she comes. So I would think maybe hopefully maybe the week of the 25th
Of what?
of September.
Well, why do we have to do this in September?
You know, I just thought you would.
Well, now, again, when we do open enrollment, we have to have, open enrollment like in November, so we can't push.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. November is when we've always,
Oh, no, we're talking about when we bring.
When we see our plant performance and make any necessary changes.
And we get a quote back for the specific.
Okay, I didn't know if it was gonna,
No, I mean, and that really gets to be sooner than later so that we can get all that hammered out and y'all can kind of see,
Yeah, I guess we just need to let you know, Brad, what.
Late
what we think.
September, early October. we
Something
need
like
to look at
that.
the Plan and see if there's any areas that we need to continue to whittle on.
Yeah, and hopefully, we might even have renewals on our stop loss coverage. I mean, that's what I would, hope is that we could, work on, and that way you don't have to come back again to, if we feel like the current stop loss carrier is gonna still be okay and fine, or, whatever, so.
you need to contact these companies and let them know we have a major player here that'll be.
That's correct, yep. That'll be the first thing we do when we get back to office, because that's the way it's called that, so.
so what's a good time? I mean, if we're looking at the last week of September, is that a week of court or do you want to do it outside? I think you need to do it outside of normal court day, so.
Well, we'll have our final budget and tax rate vote there that Monday, the last week of September. So you're talking about, we'd be available to meet, I can't do it the 26th, Wednesday the 27th, Friday the 29th.
Let's shoot for the 27th, if that would work for all of y'all. And,
If we get our numbers back.
right, exactly, it may be contingent on what we see.
27th is on what day?
It's a
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
10 o'clock to give Chris time to get here.
Yeah.
So, anybody have a conflict that they know of? Wednesday, September 27 at 10 a.m.
September. It is this September 27th, this month.
Clear this one.
Dana and Jimmy, is it all swimming? It takes a few years to get a kind of handle on all this stuff, so.
Yeah.
And y'all know you can call me, any of y'all can call me anytime to explain anything or go over anything we talk about, no problem, so feel free.
Well, I'm glad that this was an easier decision and we didn't have, because I was anticipating this taking a while to decide because this was going to be a major change. And Sharon, you mentioned something about, you could always go back to self-funding. Going back is a month now.
Yeah. Well, here's the other deal too. Well, the other deal is, you're not completely out of self-funded business when you go fully insured. because you gotta continue to pay UMR to process all your runoff claims, and you're still paying all those runoff claims, too. So there's a cost associated with exiting self-funded. Okay? So.
Okay, anybody have any questions? And we're not making any decisions here today, but I would have put on another agenda to take a vote on whether or not to switch plans. At this point, there's nothing to vote on. We're just hearing a report. There doesn't sound like there's any desire from anyone on the court to have an agenda discussion.
The actual reports that shows everything, and then for the UMR for 16 and 17, there's an additional question.
What was your question?
I'm giving you these reports so that when you have your phone call, you've got what came up with this, and you can just tell her that we went back and we used her option 1 proposals for dental and for medical to come up with these totals as far as the total cost, not just what the county's paying, but the total cost of basing, going from one plan to another. You see what I'm saying? That's what you have these.
Okay.
Well, Judge, I can tell you right now, I want to leave it the same. I don't have any problem with it.
Well, there's just not a compelling reason to make a change at this time.
That's correct.
And we hope that we've had a couple of bad years. We hope we'll settle down next year with one dropping off and hopefully nobody to replace it. And I'll continue to remind you how much administrative work is involved for Sharon and Christy maintaining a self-funded plan. I can assure you they came to this meeting hoping that you were going to go with TAC because she could maybe take a vacation if you had done that. But
Well, here's Christy too, if there's anything that we can do to take some of that load off of you, we'd be happy to do that. So.
They do all the reporting. They said, I mean, if you're subject to.
Okay, then let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Because even if your employees are not doing benefits in hand, if you were using that program starting January 1, ACA is included in that.
If you just decide to use it internally for you guys to keep track of what they enroll in or
The Higginbotham.
So that's for internal use as well.
Yes. Well, I mean, most people do it. They shoot it out to their people, and you might be surprised how many people might utilize it. But if you don't do that, if you start in January, and it would be impossible to start January because we couldn't actually do it until like February, but we go back and capture the enrollment in January, it automatically calculates it in November. Now, it won't do the recording fee, that's not the issue.
And that's not the issue. I figure those things. It's the
It's the-
it's like the
it's a
1095,
yes.
8 and 8.
Yes.
And
As
that's
long as
excellent.
we track everybody's movement throughout the year, so if you have any new hires, terminations, you just put it right in there, and what they left on magical, and then it tracks it all year long. So at the end of the year, our team internally gets those reports. They send you a report to look at and just kind of get through. All of the codes are already filled in, all the 1094s, 1095s, all of that are all filled in. You approve it, say I approve, click the button, and it sends it to e-file, sends a copy to the employee, and sends a copy.
I want that. Continue to work here.
Yeah, and we can.
and you should have that.
Now, is that any additional cost to the county to have that?
We'll pay for it.
Sound like my wife.
Well, actually, okay, there is, it's like a $700 annual fee, correct? $700, and then it's like $3 per head per.
$500
Is it
admin
500?
fee for the ACA tool.
Okay, so it's $500 for the tool.
And then usually about.
We'll pay the lump sum if y'all will pay, like, the per head is like, what, $3.50?
Per month?
No.
Last
One
year
time.
it was $3.50 per form that was generated, so you just times how many
$500
people you have in
Yeah.
a year.
So if we pay the setup cost, would y'all pay the per head fee to get that off Christie?
Well, no, but I don't have anything else for us to do.
Do you want it, Christie?
That's the way it is.
Do you want it,
She doesn't
Christie?
mind it.
I think she might. But it really is, and we'll give you references of those that used it last year. I think it went really well. But we do have, we can't start it until February. And so then we have to go back and just plug in the enrollment for January.
It should be pretty simple for us because we will just have done fresh enrollment, so we'll have an updated
Pretty clean.
census. We'll just have to cross-check if there's been any changes between that time frame. Get it all loaded in there, and then what you guys do day to day is very simple.
And y'all know the codes, y'all know the right spots.
It doesn't
They do
matter
it.
if they do it.
We have a whole team that does it. We don't do it. Yeah.
And you see proofs of all of them before they go off. You give the final approval. Because the system is good at catching it. Oh, the social kind of looks like it could be wrong, check it. Like it gives little flags on specific people.
Or if they're missing information, you'll get a report that's got like the highlights of what they're missing before they actually plug it into those forms, sending it to the IRS and sending it to your employees. But that includes the mail, that 350 includes the mailing to the employees and the e-file to IRS.
Well, the mailing to the employees can read because we put that in their W-2. So it comes to us, so I've stumbled, so could we even eliminate that fee, or is it just?
It's
already built in there, so
costs.
it's not a choice?
Yeah, it's all in the cost built in. We can always ask.
I mean, you can always print them off. I mean, yeah. And
Just do what kind of us, you guys,
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to be interested in that. We'll discuss those details at
Okay.
the appropriate time. And any tools like that that are
Yeah.
a reasonable cost that relieves some
And the other thing too, kind of, I know that is COBRA going pretty well with your COBRA administration's okay? Or
I know, sure.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that in that tool, if you are updating it every day to maintain the ACA, they will actually, there's another team at Higginbotham that actually does or can do your COBRA administration. And what I would suggest we do is compare what you're paying UMR to what Higginbotham would pay and choose the cheapest option. So that might be a way to cut some of your administration costs with UMR. Because if you are going to keep that benefits in hand tool updated and use it for all the adds and deletes, when you do that, it automatically sends a notice to the Higginbotham team as far as the COBRA administration. And they send out the required notices on the COBRA. Somebody is added or somebody's terminated, anything that's required to be sent is automatically done.
Because I had to go in there, and when I terminate them, I had to tell them yes to send the papers. When I first started, we were just emailing Omar was the guy's name, and they did all that, but Mary Pickers emailed me back and said, we have to go in there and do that. So I terminate them, and then I go in there and select that. Well, I have an issue with the plan sometimes because there's not options. If we have an employee that only has dental and doesn't have medical, and then I call and try to find out, I'm not really satisfied with my answers, but I already one of those plans.
If
And
you're
I
using
can
the
pay more than what they
system,
should.
it's much more seamless because there
Yeah.
are people who take care of it all.
And do that.
What was the name of this?
Benefits in hand. And it's run by Employee Navigator. That's going to be that's the actual software tool that Higginbotham bought and branded for our people and has kind of customized it for the Higginbotham group.
So we navigate it.
Okay. Is there anything else to discuss? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to
Make that
adjourn.
motion.
Motion's made by Commissioner Fields to adjourn. Second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jessica, Tony, Steve.